All I know is that wages have just not gone up. They ain't gone up and everything else has gone up. And I know 20 years ago, I was earning more money then than I was now, and that 20 years has changed, it's changed the town, it's changed the jobs, there's nothing.
My parents were split actually, Mum was Remain, Dad was Leave.
You just don't know who to believe at the end of the day. You know, no one's going to come out and say, right, this is exactly what's going to happen. The national health is in dire straits, police force, the fire brigade and all that. Where that money can be ploughed back into the schools and everything else. Why give it to them?
But I don't think anybody really realised about the Irish backstop when they were voting. All they really cared about, especially in Boston, is all the immigrants we have here.
Foreigners don't like it. Britons do, I think. That's just the thing about Brexit.
Because I've been living here in Boston for 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I see Britain has close ties with Europe.
Just taking the industry that I work in, which is the food industry, the company I work for have farms in Spain and Italy, and I don't know how that's going to impact the company that I work for. So, I mean, especially if we leave with no deal, it's like falling into the abyss. It's a bit frightening.
It's getting on your nerves listening to it. Oh.
And that was talking about the political spectrum, okay? So one thing I do hear all the time is if you support Brexit, you're automatically right-wing or you're automatically a Tory.
We demand a people's vote! We demand a people's vote! We demand a people's vote! We demand a people's vote!
Grandfather fought in the Second World War to keep Britain Britain, and basically previous governments have passed it back to Europe, so all our laws come in from Europe or overseen through Europe. I want British law back in this country.
Liam Fox, you know, the famous, he said we'll have 70, you know, by the time we leave the EU we'll have 70 trade deals in place. He's managed to get a trade deal. One.
My big issue is over immigration. Why is it they feel that immigration is such a bad thing for Britain? Particularly as we've observed that a lot of our agricultural workers come from abroad. English people don't want that job. And what about all the immigrants who come and work in our health service? What's going to happen to them if they decide that our country isn't particularly friendly?
I think we should be fair to the whole world and have a points-based system where, you know, nurses and skilled workers come into the UK, not just EU nationals. Such a small percentage of our population actually end up working in the EU, and the ones who do want to work in Europe just apply for a permit, like Americans and Canadians and everyone from around the world who do work in the EU do. So it's not that difficult.
You know, to say, oh, we're not going to get food, or, you know, we're not going to get food from the European Union. Well, actually, you know, so many things come from abroad, you know, produce from, you know, the wider world, so.
Now, this is a historical fact. If you trade You trade best with your neighbours.
It's terrible for the environment, though, to ship products all the way from Australia.
Yeah, well, we could grow more of our own that we can grow here, obviously.
We'll lose a lot of farms, they'll go bankrupt. They won't be able to compete on world trade terms. Everything they try and export will have 40% shoved on it, and anything coming in will have zero. How can we afford to keep our businesses running that way? So that's why I'm against World Trade Organization.
Most of the fruits and vegetables come from Spain and Italy.
Wow, I saw a video the other day, somebody was in their local supermarket taking a video, and there we are, you know, Mexico, Chile, Australia, New Zealand.
When we pulled out from the New Zealanders and the Australians, they said, okay, we got China, we got the Philippines, we got Korea, we'll start trading with our nearest neighbours. Now we don't have to trade with you.
But as I say, I would hope they would still keep supplying us, and there wouldn't be you know, ridiculous tariffs put on either way, because you know, the UK doesn't want to do that, and hopefully Europe wouldn't punish us by trying to do that. So
to force us now to be you know, trading with the rest of the world doesn't make any economic sense, doesn't make climate change sense. Ships pollute more than anything else. Diesel ships pollute more than aeroplanes do, more than cars do.
Well, there's a real problem with the media here, the right-wing media, and the censorship by the BBC. You know,
what did they censor?
Well, they don't show. I mean, they had a policy of trying not to show anything with an EU flag in it. They do not. They have not covered all the opposition, all the grassroots movements, all the tremendous resistance that's been going on. They platform racists and the far right. They never challenge what they say. They always give a platform. You know, they give so much space to Nigel Farage. Who's he? An MEP who never shows up for work.
For Ramona's to say it's all David Cameron's fault and it's all about trying to keep the Tory party together, blah, blah, blah. It's not, you know, Cameron was so fearful of UKIP surging in the polls. He knew that the Conservatives would get a kick in, and he did what he had to do.
Why did May trigger Article 50 and give March 2019 as the date to leave? Why? Because that's when the new EU regulations kick in to do with offshore tax havens. So they'd lose all their, you know, they'd have to start paying tax on these offshore tax havens. Prime Minister's husband, who does he work for? A company that facilitates offshore tax havens. I mean, people like, you know, all these super rich people. They're the ones that are pushing Murdoch and all those Mercer, Aaron Banks. That's why they want out.
Brexit now! 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 Brexit now!
We could have been building HS2, we could have been building the social housing. No, we're buying fridges to stockpile medicine! I don't know, I'm waiting to see round about the 15th of March when the heat really, you think of it as feet against the fire, you know, they're getting closer and closer, and we won't have a deal and she won't have come back with anything from the EU, and then will the Brexiters actually manage to say we'll go WTO? Will those people in there think this is too big a risk? Because they must surely have read that the WTO rules are not good for our economy.
The country is in a complete mess about its identity, and that's what's battling out now, because you've got people that think it's you know, England's moved on, it's kind of multiracial, it's inclusive. You've got, you know, like a lot of people from the EU, it's different to the Empire days, and then you've got this other lot that have come back and they just want to go back to how it was before and get rid of everybody else. You know, so it feels like a battle for the soul of the country.
I've never been politically active at all. Absolutely not. I've never been politically active until Brexit. I will say my piece because this is still a democracy, and I'm going to fight like hell to make sure it remains such. Even if I am in my little wheelchair.